is when on either side you will have brothers who and sisters who talk about each other and then ask for favors on the second hand, right? It's almost like somebody who, you know, is begging you for money after they disrespected you. Things like that, right? And I will say this about brother Akon. Akon musically, and I know some of you African brothers is going to feel any kind of way. I don't care if he's African or not. Akon is a no talent to me. I'm just going to be honest. In comparison to the artist, he might have had some. He's an auto-tune specialist. It's a no talent as far as a musical genius. He's not a singer. He can't sing. He's an auto-tune guy, I think. He's not talented.
I beg to differ with him. I mean, no offense to anybody. Akon is
he had a hot ass streak like everybody else.
Everybody else did. He had 4 songs that are 3 times platinum, 3 songs that are 2 times platinum, 10 songs that went platinum, and 10 certified gold hits. On top of that, Akon has 1 American Music Award, 5 World Music Awards, 1 BET Award, 1 Billboard Award, 1 Teen Music Award, and 1 Channel O Award.
But he's not talented.
And on top of that, he helped create some of the greats. I mean, he did help create Lady Gaga.
I mean, I won't call her a great.
He
did better as an artist than he has as a damn producer. Yeah,
but he had some hits. He had Lady Gaga. He had T-Pain. I mean, let's be for real. Yes, T-Pain is a great artist in his own, but he did find some good talent. So
he found good talent, and he has talent. I don't know where he got that from.
So I don't know where he got that from, but we'll carry on.
He has some songs. He's not talented. They're African Americans, I would say, that have songs like Blueface and are not talented. But as far as a Pan-African, I like what Akon's trying to do. Okay? I like what the brother Akon is trying to do. I think overall Akon is a good brother. But now Akon says things like this that just really make the beef between the African American community and African community. This is what causes things like this, saying stupid things like this. Let's play this clip.
I know a lot of times we have the tendency to blame the white man for everything that's going wrong, right? And that's the majority of African Americans in America feel. You know, you're not saying nothing that everybody don't feel. That don't necessarily mean it's true, but with the circumstances that surround us, that's why we believe that way. You know, so at the end of the day, it was like, if you are in a position in life where you feel like you don't own your own content, you don't own anything, and they should be investing in us, this is the opportunity now to be able to own that in which we're complaining about. Because in Africa, it's a clean slate. You can build that empire there. You can build that infrastructure there. And you already got the information. You're already educated on how to do it, because we've done it here and made billions of dollars for corporations all day. Africa is the only place in the world where black people can go and build Fortune 500 companies from scratch within 5 years.
It could be like China, easily.
No, seriously. And this took them hundreds of years to build. You can build it now within 5 years.
Yeah.
China took that same, mind state 25 years ago. China was no different from Africa 25 years ago. Go to China now. Look at Dubai, the Middle East. They just started 15 years ago and started building the same concept.
I'm kind of, me just want to be 100%. I understand what you exactly mean. So you're saying that Africa right now, so how can Africa be the new China? How can we say that? So
black people.
For all our black people, yes.
Go back to Africa.
Okay.
Whatever you're doing here, do it there.
I just find it funny that when Akon opens his mouth, all of a sudden it's a problem, but yet we have Easy, who's always spouting out all sorts of weird garbage, and everybody thinks he's a genius. I just don't understand that. When it comes out of an African's mouth, all of a sudden it's a problem.
Oh yeah, anybody but African American, it's a problem.
Africans have stage presence because they're from Africa. And black Americans are sagging with their pants hanging down, and all of them are boring. Now, see, if we gonna talk like that, because you're gonna have some people in America, those Negroes in America. So that might not have been just black Americans, because you're gonna have people like, brothers that are from Haiti, from the Caribbean, that are in America. Like Kodak Black is a Haitian, but he's a black American. But we gonna take it as you're talking about our people. Here's the reality, brother Akon. You're also the same person that says stuff like this.
Now, see, that's a problem, because that's not what he said in this particular interview. This is what he's quoting is from another totally different interview, and it was probably taken out of context, because from the way I'm seeing right now, he
told it like it was. He said, well, if it's such a bad thing here, if the white man is extorting you and you can't get ahead here in this country, then go back to Africa and take what you've learned here with you. He didn't say anything wrong. Where is the lie?
I don't understand what the problem is with what he just said. I mean, I don't totally agree with everything Akon says. But in this particular interview where they're interviewing him and he just said what he said, I don't understand why a person will go and pull out old interviews and be like, oh, well, he said this on another interview. But we're using what you just gave us. And the material that you're showing us, Akon does not say none of that.
No.
He does not say anything that is
disrespectful
to
African
African Americans
Americans
in any way.
anyway. He said exactly what everybody be saying anyways. He said, if the white man is putting you down, oppressing you to where you can't get ahead in this country, then take what you've learned, right? Because like other countries,
the way I took it is he said we are always complaining that we don't own things and we don't do this. Well, now you can take it to the continent you own,
right?
Which is the African continent, and you can make it happen. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't see what the problem is. I'm not seeing anything disrespectful in this particular interview that he's quoting. I don't know where this whole sagging the pants, I know where it came from, but that's a totally different interview.
And like you said, it probably did get took out of context.
Exactly, because
I mean, let's not front. Like, if you look around you when you go outside, how many people are sagging versus how many people are not?
At the end of the day, I tend to look at it like they just took one interview, put it on, and then took another interview that he had and where he had been asked a couple of questions. And at the end of the day, no offense to anybody, you can take anything out of context.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not showing us that interview, so I don't really understand
why he even threw that in there. It's just to bash Akon because he says something that he don't like, and now he's salty.
Yeah, because at the same time, this guy starts off the whole thing by saying he finds Akon to be talentless, and then he says he doesn't have a problem with Akon. I find everything he says being biased, because at the end of the day, you already started off by tainting what you were about to say by saying he's talentless and all this. When this man has a lot of accolades.
So that's something that you're talking about. Black people need to come back to Africa. African Americans need to come back to Africa. When you're making the distinction that Africa is different, or Africans are different than Black Americans, or they have more talent than Black Americans. If that is the case, brother, why are you asking Black Americans to come back to Africa? If y'all have the talent that you need, you would never be recruiting us to come back there. But that's what you do all the time. But then on the other hand, here you are disrespecting our people, bro. And this is exactly why people like you not gonna get no support from Black Americans.
I didn't hear him disrespect anybody. Again, I didn't hear him say anything disrespectful. There was no, oh, why don't you go and... like, the way that it's taken when a white person says, go back to Africa, a Karen, I'll be specific. When a Karen says, go back to Africa, that's a whole different boat than what he's saying. He's saying, take the tools, the education that you've learned here, and take it with you to Africa so that you could progress there. Since you feel like you don't progress here.
I don't get it. I'm just talking as an African person. I'm being honest to everybody. I don't find anything wrong in what he said. And honestly, I don't really think he left it as African Americans, but he's saying us as a ethnic race, if we want to prevail, we got one continent, we can try and make it happen. And that's all he was saying. I don't think he was begging for anybody to come home. He wasn't begging for anybody to go back to Africa.
Like, there's no talent. There's plenty of talent in
At
Africa.
the end of the day, he was, I feel on this particular interview, he did not say anything disrespectful. Now, has he said some off the wall stuff in the past? Yes. But this particular interview, which this guy chose to use, to me was just, I just felt like he was charged off another interview he had seen, and he came in there just guns blazing. But at the end of the day, Akon said nothing wrong in this interview.
He spoke facts. The man's salty because the man spoke facts.
The man spoke facts, and then the funny part is, this man who had this video playing told us that he had no problem, and he was preaching about how he has this pan-African thing going on.
I don't even know what that is.
And dating show and all this, and how he loves Africa, even though he keeps only naming one country in Africa, which is Uganda.
And he mentioned Nigeria
and maybe Nigeria once and Swaziland. But the African continent has a lot of other countries in it. And at the same time, honestly, to him, if he loves Africa that much and says he does and he has no problem with Africans, this is my real problem with it. He was very quick to distinguish the differences between African Americans and Africans. And
which he claims that Akon did, but I didn't hear
Which he claims Akon did, and Akon really didn't. Akon just mentioned something. I know the interview he's talking about, but this isn't the interview that he's talking that he presented for his argument. So honestly, to him, if he wants to really argue this out, I'm willing to go on a live and argue it out with him. And I got all the facts for days for it. But at the end of the day, what he's arguing and what he put forth as his argument doesn't correlate. And I'm just saying, for a person who claims to be a man of the people, a man that has no differences with Africans and whatever. And I understand what he's saying because I've heard this argument a dozen times. It's just funny that, I kind of feel like some people, when it's convenient to them,
then
they want to claim the African card. When it's not convenient, then all of a sudden we're from
There's a difference.
those third world countries they don't want to go to type of thing.
Because again, you're trying to separate our people. And again, like I know some African brothers talk like this because you're gonna feel like with your crew, I talk to Ugandans, they're gonna feel like they have a better opportunities than Kenyans, and Kenyans are gonna feel that about Nigeria. And I get that, right? But when we're talking about trying to be on the same level, and this is no disrespect, because a lot of Africans are good people. I know them. They don't even like this kind of stuff that Akon's talking about because it separates our brothers and sisters when we are all at the same page. To the brothers and sisters out there doing diamond platinums, God bless them. They're great. I got turned on to Afro beats in 2018. Now, I follow the genre. I love it. I love it. I love all our people. But we got to stop talking stupid.
So talking stupid is telling you to go to Africa so where you could progress. You could try to progress there since you can't progress here.
I just say no offense.
It's just advice.
I just say no offense to him. Like I say, the man just mentions two countries every single time, and he tries to make it seem like Nigeria isn't part of Africa. I was born in Zimbabwe, and I'm South African. I'm a South African citizen, and I'll tell anybody straight up, there's more to Africa than just two countries. And at the same time, this guy over here has not done his homework at all, because we had the P squareds, we had the Black Sweet Mombazas, we've had music for a long time. And I find that this argument that he's making, I think the argument he's making is creating more of a rift between Africans and African Americans, because you're trying to distinguish who's better than who.
And you're claiming that's what he's doing.
Why can't we just appreciate that even though we were separated by oceans, we still have the love of music and the talent has come from both sides, even though we were separated. Because at the end of the day, we are all cousins. But this is the problem. We're over here trying to justify that, oh, one continent is better than another. I don't think that's what Akon was saying on this last interview that he gave. I think Akon was just saying that, we could be just as good as China and we could make a strong continent if we just took what we learned from here. If it's not working here, take it over there and try and make it work. But the problem is people have closed minds. And like I said, it's so funny that he says that and all of a sudden he's a clown. Kanye says it and every fool out here is talking about, oh, he's a genius.
Mm-hmm.
I just say, I'm sorry. It just makes my blood boil.
If we're going to roast them, let's roast everybody together. Like how Brother John Henry Clark does back in the day. Bless his soul. Or Brother Lumumba out of Kenya. Then it makes sense. But when you're out here asking African Americans to come back and you're going to be disrespectful like that towards the black community in America, brother, you need to be, I'm just going to be honest, brother, you need to be checked. You need to be checked. Because what I hate is that when I hear African, there's one time I was in Uganda, I was with somebody, I won't call the person's name. You will find this particular person always in the African American community trying to get brothers to come to Uganda. This particular brother told me, I will never marry an African American woman or deal with people from like the African American community. Now, but at the same time, if I would have said it about your woman, you would have a fit.
And that goes back to preferences, because whether you understand it or not, there's a big difference between the women that are there and the women that are here. Because the African women here, what is y'all's complaint about the African American women here? That they put you down, they talk back, they don't want to listen, they want to be independent, they're too good for a man. Is that or is that not the facts?
I mean, honestly,
for 9 times out of 10.
Honestly, to everybody, that's the same problem that a lot of these dating coaches say that most women say. Regular women from America say about the other American women. At the end of the day, I just feel like his argument is just it has no merit, and there's no reason why he mentioned half of the stuff he mentioned about Akon on this. Yes, Akon says some outlandish stuff.
But as far as the women thing, what made you not want to be with a woman from Africa?
I personally always had the one rule. I said I didn't travel 17 hours to come to America to go and marry a woman from back home, because at the end of the day, to me, it just made no sense to me, because I was like, why am I going to limit myself to dating a person from back home just because they're from back home?
But are they not more traditional than the women here?
They are a little more traditional.
And more submissive. They don't look at it like a bad thing.
They don't look at it like a bad thing. They're more traditional. They're more old school.
So that's why he said that.
They're not trying to, how do I put this in a nice way? A lot of, the main issue that a lot of people say is that a lot of American women tend to want to be like a guy. There's no. As
far as not being submissive.
Yeah.
You're not wanting to play the woman role. You're afraid to follow. You want to lead. And that's exactly what the man was saying when he said, I wouldn't date an African American woman. And it basically saying American. He wouldn't date an American because of that.
Well, this goes with the sickness of saying where everybody says if you don't like something, all of a sudden you're an idiot or you're racist or whatever.
Yeah,
just
some
because,
kind of prejudice.
Just
it's a
some
preference.
type of prejudice just because you have a preference. So if you say you don't want to date American women, all of a sudden you're being ignorant. Or if you say, that's the same argument, remember in the last topic we had where a guy was like, oh, he doesn't date trans women. So they say he was transphobic.
That's just not his cup of tea.
It's not his cup of tea.
He's got his reasons.
honestly, to everybody, if a person doesn't want to date a certain type of person, it's their choice.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand what his whole argument is about. And at the end of the day, I just feel like if he would just shut up and actually listen to what Akon was trying to say, he would have learned a lot more.
Yeah, I agree.
But anyway, maybe you guys can comment on this video and tell us a little more of what you feel or think about it. Like and subscribe, and hope to see you guys soon. It's been a great day, and
this is another episode of It's Beyond Me podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's been your host,
Freddie T,
and your co-host, Drift Nasty. And again, O'Shea Duke Jackson, because that's who made the video. If you would like to actually have a little debate going on with an actual African, then please do hit us up.
And there is more countries than just Uganda and Nigeria and Africa. I'm sorry to say, O'Shea, but
thank you.
Thank you.